All right. With the absence of Chair Miller as Vice Chair, I will be leading this session today. And I'll begin by calling this meeting to order. It is the Zoning Design and Review Board meeting, Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. If I could ask for a roll call.
Member Dupasky?
Here.
Member Hinthorn?
Here.
Member Cook?
Here.
Vice Chair Zagorczyk?
Here. We will go ahead and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I will go ahead and comment on the agenda before calling to motion. There are 4 items. However, the 4th item, item D, has been slated to be continued next month's meeting on July 8th. So we will be adopting the agenda minus the 4th item. Does anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Noted. The agenda has been adopted. We will move on to the minutes. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes for the previous meetings on May 13th and May 27th as submitted?
Nope.
Is there any suggested changes? Does anyone want to make a motion to adopt?
Can we ask for public comment?
On the minutes? Yeah. Oh. Is there any public comment on the minutes? Wonderful. Thank you. Are there any?
May I get a motion in a second?
Yes.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Is there any public comment on matters not listed on the agenda? So for the 3 items that we'll be discussing, public comment, internal, external, submitted.
We received no electronic public comment.
Okay. So with that, let's move on to the first item on the agenda. This would be the resolution number 25-027. This is for the application for a project located at 6539 Washington Street. Staff recommendation to find the proposed project exempt from the CEQA, and we will review it at this time. So we'll start with presentations.
Thank you, Vice Chair Zagorczyk. I'm going to be turning it over to Carrie Swanstrom from Swanstream Studios, who will be presenting this item this evening, assuming she can now hear us. Carrie. She can't hear us.
Can you
Can
hear
you see
us now?
us?
She can see us.
Wave.
I think this should resolve the issue.
Okay.
Can you hear us now?
Can hear you. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Excellent.
Right in time.
Okay, are you ready for the item?
Oh, yeah. Please. Yeah, item number 1, please. Thank you. Realize you couldn't hear us when we mentioned it.
Thank you. Okay, so the first item before you tonight is a design review application for the Estate Yountville for the restaurant located at 6539 Washington Street, formerly known as Compadres and most recently as Perry Lang's. The project site is the historically Zagorzinger Mansion. It has been modified greatly since it was constructed. The second story has been removed, and there have been many, many modifications. It has been deemed not historic, so we don't need to worry about historic review. Tonight, the modifications are minor enough that they don't have impacts on the registered winery that's adjacent and the other structures that are part of the V Marketplace, which is a listed historic building. The application tonight is asking to replace the south patio with a new outdoor terrace that would be along both the eastern, which is the front, or northeastern, and the northern part of the building, as well as do modifications to the existing buildings, which I'll walk through. The application is for a major design review, as it's a commercial building, so we'll need to go to Town Council for approval. So tonight we're looking for your recommendation to Town Council. We're also, in addition to design review, the project would be exempt under CEQA for several sections: minor alterations to structures, new construction or conversion of small structures, and minor alterations to land, in addition to the common sense no impact statement. Regarding the design review, the exterior, the image on the left is the existing patio. Now, this has actually already been demolished.
Carrie, sorry to interrupt. We're not seeing your PowerPoint at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll note for the record that your descriptions are so vivid as to not always require a visual aid.
It's a good thing you all know where the estate Yountville is.
There we go.
So for the exterior, on the left is the existing patio. Again, this has already been demolished and replaced with lawn. There's no building permits required for something like a patio like this. The proposal on the right is to replace that patio, which was 3,300 square feet plus, with the addition of a new open air terrace that would be, again, on the east, and the image before you, which I'm sure Mr. Taft will present, as well as the front of that rendering. The rendering shows the main building with a new gable roof, and so as well as the terrace to the front and a new sunroom to the south. The sunroom to the south was approved at a staff level. It's almost the same as the existing, although it's slightly smaller in size. What's before you tonight is the terrace proposal, as well as changing the existing hoop roof on the north side to be a gable roof facing the street with a integral skylight with purlins. You can see the changes to both the addition of the terrace, which would be, again, a wood formed with a low brick wall surrounding it, about 2 feet, I believe. But it would be the entire east facade, as well as a large portion of the front facade. The north facade, which is wrapping around the main dining room. The main dining room is proposed to be replaced with the gable roof, which is the 712 pitch roof to the left. And this is a section of what that roof would look like, as well as a section through the terrace. You can see the brick wall as a base, as well as the post and beam construction of the terrace. And then again, the roof, the gable roof that's being proposed would be the same height as the existing hip roof. So they would match in that. There's no change to the square footage of the interior spaces, and the exterior terrace is slightly smaller than the south patio was. I will say and I'll show a floor plan next. So this shows seating along the terrace with amenities that I'm sure the architect will talk about a little bit. It would be accessible, and actually the entry would be right where number 7 is. That comes into the bar reception area. The main dining room is number 10 to the left, and you can see the terrace is accessed by 3 doorways from the main entry. Those would be modifications to the existing building to actually take out the fireplace, which is currently in the corner of the main dining room, and replace it with a set of doors, and modify where some of the openings are, so that it matches up with the layout for the terrace. The other spaces on the interior, the bar, the back bar, kitchen and prep areas, would stay the same. in terms of square footage and the main walls. They could be updated later with the building permit as long as they maintain those areas. And then they are proposing to update the restrooms to provide appropriate ADA restrooms. And then off to the side, you can see the number 9 is the sunroom, which is already permitted. It is the same wall structure, but being replaced on the upper portion of it, as well as the roof, which is being replaced with a flat roof. So the design of the building, if I go back to the roof, would actually create a little bit more detail in the building between the terrace, which is a greatly detailed area, changing the roof from one large hip roof to having both hip and gable. The terrace would obviously be a flat roof, and the sunroom also has a more or less flat roof. It's shown as sloped here, but that's just the slope for drainage. Going back to the seating plan, the seating and other use permit parameters are proposed to remain the same. The seating would be a little bit changed between the interior and the exterior, but in all, the total seating proposed would be the same. The other piece to talk about is the tree protection. There is a heritage oak and cedar. You can actually see the rings of those trees on this plan here. Right outside of the terrace, there's a cedar to the northeast and an oak that is within close proximity. So they have actually structured the terrace to be sandset pavers in the area on the north side of the building so that it doesn't disrupt the root structure. We did request that the applicant submit an arborist report, which they have. We had the town's arborist, Tony Walcott, review that. He was very pleased with it. And so we are recommending a couple of conditions of approval, and we are recommending approval of the project with the conditions that there be tree protection would be required as recommended by the project arborist, and that when they submit a building permit, that also come with a tree protection plan that includes both the town's additional protections for heritage trees, as well as the tree protection measures that are in the arborist report. And that is it for my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure the architect will go into further detail on the design elements.
Thank you. Any questions from staff before the applicant comes up?
No.
At this time?
No.
I did have one question, actually, and just out of curiosity. So the you'll get your chance. I'm just going to ask staff a question first, and then you're up next. But I'll come up with a whole bunch of questions, and you can charge by the question. Okay. I was just curious about the building footprint, mainly because the staff report says that the building size is not changing, but does that mean that the outdoor space is not counting towards the FAR? Is that because I noticed it has a slightly bigger footprint, so that structure is not FAR, right?
That's correct. And so for the existing outdoor space, the terrace is open air and would not count as FAR. The size of the patio they're demolishing they've demolished was 3,355 square feet. And so I'm comparing that to the terrace, which will also be the outdoor seating, as they had been previously approved for the south patio. But that size is 2,284 square feet. So it's about 1,000 square feet plus, a little bit over smaller than the outdoor patio was.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thank you. That was my only question. If there are no other questions of staff, would the applicant like to come up and present?
Very briefly, I don't have Kari's done a Good job. I'm here. My name is John Taft. I'm with Back End. I'm one of the partners. And I think Kari's explained what we're trying to do. I don't know if I have much more to say, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. That's my presentation at the moment. I'm not sure
Thank
what
you.
was needed.
Humble and honest. Are there any questions for the applicant since he is here in front of us?
I have one. Just looking at the elevation, the sunroom has a roof, so that's enclosed.
It is enclosed. It has a flat roof.
Okay.
The current roof has had a deep shed coming down that created a very low edge to it. So we just wanted to make it
Nice.
more
And
aesthetically pleasing.
on the elevation, it shows the terrace ending before the front of the sunroom.
The paving continues, as does the low brick wall, but the trellis stops because it would have a difficult interaction with the flat roof. It's for aesthetic
okay.
reasons.
Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. It appears as though the finishes, like the colors and the brick treatment, is similar to what is being completed at the new Clementine location. Is that correct? Is that
The whitewashing of the brick is correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll have some of the similar palette to it.
Yeah, well, that is a beautiful project. So I applaud you. If you were involved in that, I applaud you for that. And I think this is a beautiful project as well. And looking forward to it being having new life breathed into it for
Us
the
too.
public domain. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have no questions, but lots of comments. So, do we wait?
I mean, you probably save the comments for the end if there are no other questions, the applicant. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Members, are there any public comments, either live here or submitted?
We received no public comments electronically.
Okay. We will close public comment. And at this point, we will revert back to ourselves where you can make any additional comments, observations, any final questions about the project.
Welcome. Nice to see you.
In the microphone. Thank you.
I think for Back End, your portfolio speaks for itself. So what an amazing team that you guys have developed here. I agree with my fellow board members. I don't think there could be possibly a better elevation hidden back in those trees, given your proposal based on what the current building looks like, which I think most people walking by, unless you know it's there, you kind of just walk by and don't really notice it. I think this is going to be a major gem inside of those trees, including the rest of the campus that you have. I think the seats actually that you have brought additional to the restaurant itself is something, as far as the open terrace. The encroachment overall. I don't think really, it's been quite some time, I think, where there was enough thoroughness with a team put together that has thought about everything. And I would like to compliment Town Hall as well, because just the overall presentation and the thoroughness of the findings that we need to consider could not be more spot on. I mean, it's just really well put together, and I think that's why this is, I would suspect, a very easy decision for, I know myself, and I would imagine my board members as well.
Thank you, member. Any other comments?
For me.
Just reiterate, it's a lovely kind of restoration update of a building that really needed some attention. So I appreciate it, and I think we all look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm not the architect in the room, but if you just said to me, "Oh, we're going to, replace part of a hip roof with a gabled roof, and it's going to be perpendicular," I would say it's hard for me to imagine that. But then I see it here, and somehow it just works really well. With these large, single-story, heavy roofed buildings, typically they're not inviting, whereas this reorients it in a way that makes it a lot more welcoming and gives it a face, in a sense. So that's it's really just nice to see. And then with the outdoor additions, it really feels like it actually, in many ways, fits into the town much more than it did. It always felt a little bit tucked away in the back and something from the past, and now it it feels very much in the present. So happy to see it.
That brings up a question. You can just nod so you don't have to get up. Will you be taking out the big hedge along the parking lot so that people can see the restaurant?
I'm not certain. Let you answer that. So
Okay. I guess you have to come up.
All right, now you have to come up.
Now you have to come up.
Which was the goal all along?
Yeah. So the woman that designed Clementine, you know, the treatment for the bricks and the awnings and all that stuff, her name is Candace Campos. She's the former head of design for a place called Soho House. You know, they have restaurants and clubs all over the world and stuff. She's quite talented. So she wants us to take the hedge out, but do something more natural, like with like she's been sourcing old farm fences. So we're going to put a reclaimed farm fence around it with some flowers and stuff, so it looks
lovely.
Yeah, so it goes with the building. So she's been thinking about the architectural stuff there as well, or the landscape architecture there as well.
Super. It'll be nice to be able to see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Just one question. When can we make reservations? That's my only question.
Okay, with that, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll give it a shot. I make a motion to recommend the town council conditionally approve the design review application for a project located at 6539 Washington Street and find the proposed project to be exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
that'd be noted. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, especially thank you.
Thank you. All right, move on to our next of three items. This will be presented for consideration, resolution number 25-028. And this would be recommending the council adopt a new ordinance, 25-534, adding a new chapter for entertainment zones to Title 17 of the Code, and establishing an entertainment zone, finding the addition exempt from CEQA. So we'll have go ahead and have staff tell us what this is all about.
Thank you, Vice Chair Zagorczyk and members of the ZDRB. Just a short presentation on this item. So a little background, in 2024, the state legislature adopted SB 969, authorizing any city or county to establish entertainment zones permitting alcohol consumption on public streets and adjacent sidewalks. Only licensed premises located within an entertainment zone can sell alcohol for public consumption within the zone. And only non-glass and non-metal containers may be carried off premise for consumption within the zone. And additionally, delivery of alcoholic beverages to consumers within inside the zone is prohibited unless it's going to a residence or a private business within the zone. Before establishing an entertainment zone, the city or county must also seek feedback from local law enforcement regarding potential health and safety impacts that might be generated and how those impacts might be mitigated, as well as the proposed boundaries, hours of operation, types of alcoholic beverages allowed, and the approved drinking vessel. The city or county must then determine the boundaries of the zone, the days and hours of the zone's operation, the types of alcoholic beverages that are allowed within the zone, the type of container, non-glass, non-metal, a process and or procedure by which those possessing alcohol within the zone may be readily identifiable as being 21 or over. And after establishing an entertainment zone, the city or county must review operation of the zone every 2 years to ensure that the zone is being maintained in a way that protects public health and safety. The review must be conducted in consultation with local law enforcement, and any reports prepared during that process must be provided to the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control for review. So more information, the proposed entertainment zone continues the town's efforts to promote economic vitality and quality community events, and would be located along the Washington Street corridor from Champaign Drive to Jackson Street. During the town council's goal-setting meetings in April of 2025, the council identified establishment of an entertainment zone as a staff priority for the coming year. And as required by state law, staff did consult with the local law enforcement regarding the proposed operations and standards for the entertainment zone, as well as potential public health and safety impacts of the zone. We did receive a response from the Sheriff's Department, which was attached to the staff report, and they essentially, their main concerns were related to health and safety around potential road closures during an event. So we were potentially going to close Washington Street and put up barricades keeping cars out of areas where pedestrians are located. As far as the rest goes, it's typical Sheriff's Department activities, making sure, no one underage is drinking, nobody's out of control, that type of thing. So here's, hard to read because the map's pretty big, but essentially it's both sides of Washington Street, sidewalks, north to south of town is the proposed zone. And so staff is recommending that the ZDRB consider adoption of the included resolution, recommending the town council adopt ordinance adding chapter 17174 entertainment zones to title 17 of the Yountville Municipal Code, establishing an entertainment zone and finding the code addition and establishment of the zone exempt from CEQA. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
I have a question in just regards to that. Like, you're actually going into an establishment
Yep.
and buying an alcoholic drink and then taking it out. We're not having a little kiosk kind of setup.
Exactly. Yep. It's got to be a license established. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll largely, the town will maintain, because we're going to have to approve the containers. We're going to have to come up with a way to identify folks who are over 21. So those are like technical details that will enable us to really control it. And, I think, it's another tool in the toolbox, for the town to have events and for people to do things.
So this wouldn't apply to like the sip and stroll and events where they have booths set up?
So for a specific event that the town council approves and that approves a different form of alcohol consumption or whatever, that would live outside of this.
Okay.
So this would be, once it's passed, it's just in place and anybody can walk in and get a drink to go?
Essentially, if we've come up with the cup and the way to identify it, identify those who are over 21.
Okay, a comment to council, which I'm sure they would already be thinking of, that I don't understand why the state made decisions on the kinds of cups. I don't understand why metal is a problem. And if the council is thinking about making water stations and things so there's no plastic drink bottles being used, why would we hand out plastic cups?
Yeah, so coming up with the cup type, I have a feeling it's going to be a major discussion point for sure. Some sort of compostable, recyclable, eco-friendly type cup.
Because very little that's out there that is called compostable is compostable. It's only
Right.
commercially compostable, and then
Yeah.
nothing in the valley processes commercially compostable.
Right.
Why would they say not metal, since metal's recyclable? And
I-
can we change that? Can we adjust that for
No.
our town?
No, we can't. And I can only speculate. They see it as a safety issue. People maybe getting hit over the head with metal and glass.
Aluminum.
I know. Trying to guess what our state legislature does can sometimes be difficult.
Okay, and the sheriff's comments about barriers.
Yeah.
That's not really something that's built into this, that we're going to be putting barriers on streets.
That would be if we have an event, a town event, where I think one thing that's been talked about is a North Yountville at night type thing. Potentially if we were closing off, it wouldn't be the whole Washington Street corridor or anything like that. But in theory, if we were having an event and we wanted establishments to sell beverages and folks be able to walk out into the street, potentially we'd want to block off those streets, and they would want to make sure that was done in a safe manner to keep cars out.
Logical. Okay. Okay, those are my questions.
I have a few questions. So the entertainment zone along both sides of Washington, and again, the intent is that should people want to consume essentially alcohol along that corridor, they can. So once it gets designated, then does establishments then have to apply and meet requirements? Is that the idea, or can I
No.
just with my own cup, I can bring some wine, and as long as I'm in there, I can
And they have whatever we come up with for a wristband or other method to determine that the folks are over 21.
Got it. And this would be sort of an always-on kind of situation, or that's the part I'm not really...
I think it's to be determined.
Okay.
How it ends up being rolled out
see.
and utilized.
Got it. So this is just a step towards figuring out, once we have an entertainment zone, how do we want to entertain
Exactly.
ourselves exactly
Yep.
within the confines of the state law.
That's
okay.
right.
Thank you. Makes sense.
No questions, lots of comments.
Okay. Is there any public comment associated with the entertainment zone?
We received no electronic public comment.
Okay. Great. Would we like to discuss anything else amongst
Do
ourselves?
we know when it will be coming to council?
No, not yet.
Would it be like next meeting, or, because I don't know, I hadn't met anybody who's aware of this.
No, we don't have a firm date yet.
Okay. I just want to make sure it gets enough time in the public so that the neighbors of Washington Street have time to...
Sure. It won't be rushed. It won't be the next meeting.
Okay.
I think it's such a great idea. I mean, well, other towns do it. Other cities do it. Major metropolitan cities that have 10 times the amount of population that we have here, whether visiting or not. I just think it's a great idea. I think it's going to bring a lot of tourism in. I think this town is about filling beds, right? TOT tax, all that kind of stuff. And I think also it puts us ahead of the mark of not quite being maybe quite so staid, you know. This is kind of like, it's a moving world, it's a moving population, it's a moving demographic, and I think the town needs to do something to kind of fill in a little bit of the holes that we're having regarding retail, regarding some of the hotels, things like that. And I think it's not such a demographic thing of age. You're not going to have basically 22 to 25-year-old partiers coming here constantly, because they're the ones that probably for the most part, given what they do, are not staying in $1,000 night hotels. So I think it brings an entire different class of people here that can absolutely spread their wealth, which is what we want, you know. And I think probably, without being too silly about it, I think there's enough going on. There's enough watchful eyes, if you will, as far as the police department, that they'll be able to control things. Given that, again, I don't see it being like a fraternity party. You know what I mean? I think you're, myself included, going to be all very surprised at how cordial it is, how polite it is, and again, this new kind of surge of people that come out. Plus, again, one of the, I think, downfalls a little bit of Yountville not having these kind of things is if there is no shopping, you go to the restaurant, they're only open to a certain amount of time. Then there's nothing else to do. They go back to their room. So I think this just gives a little bit more of an open air feeling. It gives an open street kind of fair thing without, again, being silly or obnoxious just because of the demographic that's basically going to be doing something like this. So I am in full support. And then what's the worst end? It doesn't quite pan out. We check it out and make other decisions.
My concern is just that the entertainment zone is so close to the residential area that...
I think that, and I understand that. I think it's more of a thing of, again, I just don't perceive it being a bunch of rowdy 22-year-olds that came to Yountville to kind of hang out for a bachelor party, and they're slamming down drinks, running up and down, you know, Washington Street, you know, looking for the slip and slide. It's just a different kind of thing. It's just a different demographic that I think really is going to be out there. So even with the noise factor, I just don't see that being that large of a loud vocal group drinking where they're going to be disturbing neighbors.
You'd be surprised how many people climb on the sculptures that are in town after hours and how much damage they've done.
Well, I think
like
that's
that,
something
so
to take into consideration.
It's out there. But
I
if
think
we
fairly
have
sad.
hours established, will there be hours established for the
Yeah,
entertainment zone?
they're currently proposed at 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah, so it's not a free-for-all. That's the thing. It's, you know.
I'd also note that any of the terms of the use permits of the established businesses also carries over to this. So if their use permit has something less than 10 p.m., they can't surpass that.
Okay.
Is it? I do have a question. Is it up to the wristbands and all that? Is it? Let's say you're going into ad hoc, if you will, okay, and then you get a glass of wine, you get a special band. It's in the right kind of cup and all that. You can go out and then you can go back into ad hoc, kind of hang out a little bit, go back out to the street, go across the street. I mean, it's really like a kind of take your drink with you, if you will, and explore the town.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Kind of instead of just being planted in one of the particular establishments, kind of going, this is where we're at. Particularly, I think, during more of the tourism season, some of these places get packed. So it's almost impossible to stand at the bar because you can't clog the entire bar itself. Sometimes there's so many people, whether it's Bouchon, Ad Hoc, any of Gary's places, there's enough people in there that there's hardly room to move to begin with. And they all kind of start dispersing outside a little bit, you know? So I just think it's a fun idea. I think it's going to work out really great. And again, there's always that caveat that if it doesn't, then there's stipulations in it, if you will, that can be controlled and take it from there.
I'm still somewhat hung up on your very specific reference to a slip and slide earlier.
I was referring to kind of like the fraternity party, if you will.
No,
where again,
no,
I don't
it's
see
okay.
21-year-olds all kind of, pulling their drawers off and doing slip and slide in their boxers. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's just a different group of people.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I will point out, though, on the previous slide, though, I did notice that you chose to show a beer, which I thought was pretty rebellious for an image of within Yamba. No judgment to beer drinkers whatsoever, but
Finding images to, ordinances aren't very exciting. They don't have plans and elevations, and so it wasn't.
Yeah, there wasn't the photo. Okay. With any other comments or questions for staff before we move to
One question. I can't find it right now, but is this up for review and renewal every 2 years? Did I read that?
That's correct.
Okay.
And again, at any point, if the town decides it's not working out, I mean, it can be repealed.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's a good safety measure. If it does turn into the slip and slide that Kim was talking about, then it can always be retracted.
Exactly.
All right. With that,
I'd like to make a motion.
okay. To the right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, based on the staff findings, for assessor parcel number 036-330-006, to adopt the ordinance number 25534, adding the chapter 17.174 entertainment zones to title 17 zoning of the Elmville Municipal Code, establishing an entertainment zone and finding the code addition and establishment of the zone exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion passed. Moving on to the third and final agenda item of the night. A similar item type, which is consideration adoption of a new resolution, in this case 25-029. This would be for council to adopt ordinance number 25535 around temporary use permits, specifically establishing an administrative process for temporary uses and finding the code addition exempt from CEQA. I will go ahead and hear from staff.
Thank you, Vice Chair Zagorczyk and the board. Another short staff or presentation here. So a little bit of background, like the previous item before you, the town has taken a number of actions to encourage economic recovery and growth, including but not limited to the establishment of the Economic Recovery Program in response to COVID and the Washington Street Activation Zone to permit business owners to host accessory uses and pop-up events on and near Washington Street. The town also regulates and permits special event permits. The proposed temporary use permit ordinance continues the town's efforts to promote economic vitality and quality community events. This ordinance would authorize staff to permit certain short-term activities administratively in any zoning district within the town if they meet certain standards. Examples of this would be outdoor events, festivals, markets, exhibits for up to 14 consecutive days or 6 weekends, pop-up retail sales, museums, outdoor movies, outdoor dining, seasonal sales activities, pumpkin patches, Christmas tree lots, things like that, temporary structures on and off-site storage, and other similar temporary activities that the planning department determines are compatible with the underlying zoning district in which it's located. Temporary uses, activities, and events may be allowed within specified time limits and parameters, but in no case longer than 12 months. TUP application would be reviewed in light of the type of use, the duration, input from town departments, including law enforcement and safety personnel, Title 17, which is zoning code standards and requirements, event site restoration, making sure the site is returned to its former situation after something like a seasonal sales lot, and measures to ensure that the activity will not present a nuisance or safety concerns. The planning officer may condition approval of a TUP as necessary to ensure compatibility with the surrounding area, including but not limited to conditioning hours of operation, parking, fencing, trash, public safety, things of that nature. The use of TUPs is common in other jurisdictions throughout the state, as they provide a flexible and faster method to establish uses compared to the traditional discretionary use permit process, which, as we all know, can take several months from application to ultimate decision. It also gives both the applicant and the town the ability to test drive a use before establishment of a permanent use permit. This can bring unforeseen issues to light and show that a use is a good fit and compatible with the surrounding area. And like the item preceding this, at their April 25th goal-setting meeting, the town council identified establishment of a temporary use permit process as a staff priority for the coming year. With that, our recommendation is to consider adoption of the included resolution recommending the town council adopt an ordinance adding Chapter 17-202, temporary use permits, to Title 17 of the Yountville Municipal Code, establishing an administrative process for temporary uses and finding the code edition exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
So this is just formalizing and streamlining a process that's currently done on an ad hoc basis. Is that correct?
Well, so we currently have the Washington Street Activation Plan, and we have special event permits. And so we've kind of been shoehorning some things in those because they're not exactly an ideal fit. Washington Street Activation is really location specific. It's outdoor in front of existing kind of commercial places. Special event permits are really for larger kind of one-off or very short duration events, whereas this is a lot more flexible. Where I've seen them, the farmers market in front of Ranch 2 Market is a perfect example of that. So we've been kind of having a rolling special events permit for that to keep it going while they're in process with their permanent use permit application. And where I've seen this be really useful in my former jurisdiction is retail space, or a commercial space rather, becomes vacant. And now all of a sudden you have a landlord who's trying to fill the space, and all of a sudden they find someone who's interested in a lease, but they don't have a full use permit yet, and they know that's going to take several months to happen, and they're hesitant to sign a lease because they don't know if it's going to get approved or not. So this essentially gives us the ability to approve someone to move into a commercial space, get their business up and running while they're pursuing a permanent use permit, and during that time we can see how well the use fits in town, whether there are any issues. And then when they come before you and the town council to get their permanent use permit, we know we have a much better idea on how to condition it, issues that we need to address. But a lot of the time it's like, it's a great fit, and they proved it. They showed they were a good contributor to town, and so it's a good way to kind of vet a use almost before it becomes permanent. So it provides more, and again, another tool in the toolbox, a little more flexibility.
Yeah, and I'm all for that, but I'm just curious, because you say in the past it's taken several months. What is being removed so that now it's being more streamlined and a quicker process? Is it just fewer entities have to be in the approval process?
This is a staff approval, so the temporary use permit will be at the staff level.
Okay. So it doesn't have to go to as many.
A permanent use would. This is just temporary. So again, up to a year at the longest.
Yeah. Okay.
But while they're applying for a use permit, it still has to fit all the parameters of the uses that are acceptable in town.
Exactly. I mean, nothing's going to get approved that hasn't been vetted and doesn't fit code. It doesn't fit the neighborhood, and that wouldn't be a good move.
But also, a temporary use permit isn't necessarily designed to evolve into a permanent one, right? It's just sort of a pop-up, you want to sell baked goods for a Sunday type of thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Like the Labo pop-up that was.
Yeah.
That would be an example.
Exactly.
I think we bar those over in the lawn already, right? I mean,
Yeah, again, so it's where we've been kind of shoehorning things into these other things that we have. You know, an ongoing farmers market. It's not a one-off special event of over 200 people. It's an ongoing, you know, kind of thing. And this would give us the tool to be able to permit that.
Okay. Are there any, any other questions from staff? Are there any public comments on the temporary use permits?
None received.
Okay. We'll close the public comment period. Any other comments or questions for staff on this subject?
No.
No, I think it's great that you guys will have the flexibility to move quicker and approve these things. So.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, it's already happening, so we might as well put the right balance of checks and balances in process. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for that.
Okay.
I make a motion to consider the adoption of resolution number 25029, recommending town council adopt ordinance number 25535, adding chapter 17.202, temporary use permits of title 17 of the Yountville Municipal Code, establishing an administrative process for temporary uses, and finding the code addition exempt from the California Environmental Act, CEQA.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion approved. I'll reiterate that the fourth agenda item will be postponed to next month's ZDRB meeting on July 8th. A couple more topics. Administrative items, anything to review? Okay, we will close that. Are there any staff and board reports? Okay.
I have another comment.
Before we adjourn, yes. Are there any other final comments?
Just in regards when we get these, it's like a lot of information to absorb. Some are really adaptable on their little machines there, and if you want to refer back to another page, would it be possible, particularly when we get this kind of information, you know, like an engineering report for this presentation? My gosh, I think that Arbor's report was, if I'm not mistaken, 49 pages. I think it was actually longer. It's a lot of information to suck up. It'd be great if you have to refer back to it to have the numbers or the pages numbered, so you're not kind of going through them. I print, I kind of highlight, I make my little notes and stuff, and I'm just wondering if there's something on your program where you can kind of go when it's, you know, 4 or more pages, 6 or more, something that's, you know, so we're not trying to figure out, well, on page 6, well, we're 6, because you're scrolling through this.
It is a compilation of a variety of attachments, but that's something the clerk's office can look into for you.
That'd be very, very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, before we adjourn, I'd want to pass it to long-term 12-year board member Kim Cook to make some comments.
Thank you, Michael. I have one more meeting after this, but sometimes in the meetings, in the summer meetings, don't come to pass in July. So I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed my job on the ZDRB. I felt that I did a good job for the residents of town, representing them and our general plan. And I just wanted to be clear that I sincerely wished to remain on the ZDRB and continue to serve, but I was not reseated by the council. The last ZDRB meeting was a bit of a contentious one where the applicant chose to take an aggressive approach with their project, repositioning it to force it through instead of working with the town. And I chose to push back for the sake of the neighbors, bringing forth many of the comments that I had received from them about this project, asking the applicants to make some changes so that the building would be less intrusive to them. We had a good discussion in the meeting. It was a 3-2 vote to move forward the project to council, so I was not alone in my frustrations. But for the tone I took with the applicant, I was not reseated. I have done my best to represent the community that I have served for all these years. I do not regret my tone because I spoke up for the residents, but I am heartbroken by theirs. I want to thank the community for all their support and love over the last week. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say, having now been on the board myself for 6 years, I came in pretty new to everything, pretty green, and there was, and frankly, I think it was a pretty early wave of folks at that time. There was a big turnover, but thankfully, had Chair Cook at the time as our guiding light on how to navigate the complexities of the board. And when it came my turn to become chair, even before this fantastic guide, she had her own, and I had it, and I still use it. So for me, the ZDRB, the balance and the tone was struck by Member Cook, and she's always catches things that people usually miss, and it strikes, I think, an important and powerful balance. Things change; nothing is forever, whether it's voluntary or not. I do recognize that. There's a world where none of us will be on the board anymore, but I did want to acknowledge the important role that you played for me and for the group here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can't imagine not paying attention to it.
Public comments.
I'm feeling it. I did hear that the applicant of the Humboldt project and some of the neighbors had a meeting yesterday. There's probably an outcome of what we push back on, so that's always good.